Hello and welcome back to Stories with me, Jesse. And today we're once again looking at the people who ask us to decide if their actions were justified over at Reddit/Am I the A-hole. Let me know what you think of these stories in the comments, as well as any suggestions you might have that we may just use in a future installment. Prepare yourself to reach an unbiased verdict, cause we're getting started now. Our first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my sister to stop telling people that she has my illness to gain sympathy for being overweight? I, 22 female, have an older sister, 25 female. My sister is very sensitive about everything. When we were young, if I made the smallest comment like, I prefer pink over blue, it would make her cry because she thought I was aiming at her by saying it. My parents would always ask me to apologize to her, since she's sensitive and I'm emotionally stronger than her. My parents never controlled my sister's diet growing up, letting her have what she wants, since she found it too difficult to control herself. I was skinny as a stick when I was a kid, so even though my family has a long history of thyroid disease, my parents didn't think there was an issue with me. However, my sister has been overweight the majority of her life, so my parents thought she'd be the one with the thyroid issues. They took us to an endocrinologist when I was 10. I got a diagnosis for Hashimoto's thyroiditis while my sister didn't, and instead got told to exercise and watch her diet. I got hypothyroidism due to Hashimoto's and have been on medication ever since. My sister and I moved back in with our parents due to what's happening these days. I leave my medication in a cabinet near the kitchen since I know I won't take it unless I have to actually get out of bed to do so. Apparently, I left a box before I moved out of my parents' house when I was a teen, and one of her friends saw it while they were over and asked if it was hers. My sister told them that it was, and that's why she was overweight. The box has euthyrox written on it in big bold letters with a little picture of a thyroid gland next to it. So yeah, pretty obvious it was meant for a thyroid condition. She's held up this farce for almost 4 years. I only figured it out when I saw her take a box of it out of my bag one day. I confront her on it, and she starts crying and telling me that she just didn't want anyone to be mean to her because she's fat. She also says that it's not fair that the one with the normal weight gets the thyroid disease. I'm just staring at her gobsmacked. She's complaining that she doesn't have an autoimmune condition. I tell her to knock it off and that she can't lie to get sympathy from people. My parents talk to me later and they say that I was too harsh calling her a liar and she probably needs a therapist or something in the classic, I should apologize since I'm more mature. They even tell me that they were hoping that she was the one with the thyroid issues as a child so that they could justify her weight gain. I ask them, so you wanted your daughter to be sick instead of admitting that it's your fault because you bought her McDonald's whenever she wanted it and never made her exercise? Now they're mad at me too. You are definitely not the a-hole, at least not in my book, because even with your medical condition, you've managed to keep yourself healthy, where your sister is shamefully trying to gain sympathy when her weight issue isn't the result of anything other than a poor diet and lack of exercise. I totally understand that most parents want to stand by their children, reassuring and comforting them instead of making things worse by speaking harsh truths. But in this situation, it sounds like they've set your sister up for failure, and encouraging lies ain't helping anyone. Moving on, our next story is called, Am I the a-hole for emasculating my boyfriend? I, 30 female, met this guy, 28 male, in January, and he became my boyfriend in February. Comes March, the world goes down the drain and we decided to move in together for the time of the pandemic. Everything is great. In the morning, we have this routine where he browses Reddit and gives me the highlights. A few weeks ago, he shows me a post where this guy is challenged to an arm wrestling competition by his girlfriend. The guy didn't seem to have any sort of training/workout, whereas his girlfriend did. I commented he might have a surprise. My boyfriend started educating me on biology and how men are stronger than women. I told him that there were way too many factors to take into consideration to make such a broad argument. I have been doing weightlifting for 2 years, and my boyfriend has never seen a gym in his life, so I used us as an example. That was a big mistake. He got really defensive and condescending and made comments like, "That's cute." I just let it go. Fast forward to yesterday, he's playing some game with his friend online, and I can clearly hear him talk about me. Well, curiosity killed the cat. At first it's all pretty and my ego is bursting, but then he says I'm delusional because I think I'm stronger than him. Pause. Seriously? I know I'm weak, but not weaker than a girl. So later, I decide to call him on his BS. I asked him if he wanted to come work out with me the next day, this morning, so he can show me how strong he is. He accepted, and I was happy because I had been dying to bring him and initiate him to something I'm passionate about. So this morning, we went to my friend's, 27 male, garage. My region allows groups of 10 or less, and we wipe everything. I told him we're gonna do deadlifts. It's my favorite exercise, and I was already planning to test my personal best, so it was perfect. My friend was there because he corrects my form, and it's been our Sunday ritual since COVID-19. We started light and slowly worked our way up, doing the same number of reps as the other. Comes 185, his form starts to crumble, so we made him go lighter. But 185 isn't really that much for me, so I kept stacking the plates. He looked very supportive and impressed the whole time. I ended up beating my personal best at 265. I was ecstatic, and so were they. When we got in the car, he was very silent. I assumed he was just tired. We got home, and that's when he exploded and asked me if I was proud of myself. Apparently, I humiliated him in front of my friend. I apologized. I didn't realize he was feeling that way. He got angry and said it really changed the way he saw me, like I'm less of a woman now. He stormed to the basement. I started collecting my things, but now I'm wondering if I should have been reading between the lines and stopped at 190 or something, or just dropped it and never suggested we work out together. I knew very well I was stronger than him, but I just had to prove it to him. Am I the a-hole? I don't feel that you are, as your boyfriend seems to have quite a stubborn mindset that is more likely the issue, and I honestly support you showing off your strength and taking him down a peg. Some might argue that you went too far, but he really seemed to be full of himself and a little old-fashioned for assuming that a girl is automatically weaker than a man. But what do you guys think? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this story below. Our next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my wife it's not cute for her to encourage our teenage daughter to expect her boyfriend to pay for everything in their relationship? Wife and I have been married for 18 years. We have our 16-year-old daughter who has been dating a slightly shy/awkward young man for around 3 to 4 months now. He seems very nervous around my daughter and has admitted in a passing comment here and there to my wife and I that he can't believe she agreed to date him, and he thinks she's way out of his league. He seems very respectful, just shy. My wife is usually an independent, awesome woman, and her ideals align closely with mine, particularly in terms of feminism and equality. We have both striven to raise our daughter to be as independent and capable as possible. Since my daughter has been dating this kid, my wife has changed considerably and has given our daughter advice that has left me with raised brows more than once. Some of the advice I've heard my wife give is, "Oh, it's cute for boys to pay for everything, especially in your first relationship," or, "Oh, honey, don't worry about that. He can pay for you. If he really liked you, he would," and similar. I've tried to balance this out by telling my daughter straight away, 2 people in a partnership should be contributing equally. And my personal favorite, if someone asks if they can take you out to dinner, it's reasonable to expect them to pay. But if someone asks you to grab dinner with them, it's reasonable to split the payment. I figured that would be an easy way for a young person to understand the difference. However, I've noticed my daughter becoming more and more entitled with her boyfriend's money. They haven't been anywhere, obviously, since we're home, but the way she talks about him, "Oh, I'll just ask him to pay for X," etc., leaves a bad taste in my mouth. She has also flippantly bragged/mentioned that she gets him to buy gift cards for her, etc., by mentioning her mother's advice, i.e., if you really liked me, you'd pay for X. I spoke to my wife privately and told her my concerns. She insists it's a rite of passage for girls, and it's cute that she should feel a guy is completely spoiling her. I told her that it's not cute for her to be thinking it's acceptable to view relationships as personal ATMs, and my wife became very angry with me and is now calling me an a-hole with a lot of hostility. Well, this story seems to show the opposite side of the spectrum compared to the second story in today's video. I certainly don't think you're being an a-hole, just a concerned parent who wants to make sure his daughter is a strong woman, able to stand on her own merits instead of gaining the mentality that a man will take care of all of her financial worries as an adult. At the same time, I understand the chivalry argument that a man should properly court a lady, and from personal experience, I've allowed myself to get taken advantage of in the past when I was crushing on a girl as a teenager. I get more than a little concerned when I hear my teenage daughter playfully state that she's going to find a man to take care of her, so I feel for you. Oh yes, I do. Our final story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not telling my wife I had a vasectomy? I've been married to my wife for 2 years now, and she's always wanted to have a child with me. She mentions it often. I've even been trying to have one with her. The problem is, I've had a vasectomy, and she doesn't know. My ex-wife came over and dropped off our 3 kids, 9, 5, and 4, and she's pregnant by her now husband. Well, her and my wife were talking about her new baby, and if she knew the gender. Now, my ex knows that I've been fixed, as I did so after our youngest was born. Well, my wife says, I can't wait to be pregnant. We've been trying to have a new baby with no luck, but it will happen when God allows it. My ex just smiled, and she then looked at me, and I knew what she was thinking with the look she gave me. Later, she texted me and told me I needed to tell my wife the truth, and that she had baby fever, and it was cruel to give her false hopes, and pretty much called me an a-hole. So, am I the a-hole? It's a little dishonest, but it would break my wife's heart to know the truth. Well, the people of Reddit have dubbed you the a-hole for sure, and I agree with them 100%. To give your wife that sense of hope, knowing that no baby will ever come from your efforts is pretty appalling and cold-hearted. Honestly, why not just tell her, or consider getting the procedure reversed? If your relationship is built on lies or withholding information, it makes me wonder what else you're hiding from her. How could you keep this secret and sleep right next to her at night? I have to shake my head at you, sir. But what do you guys think of this story, or any of today's in general? Let's start a discussion about it in the comments. Anyways, that's about all the time we have for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again for tuning in with me, Jesse. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content, and check out what other stories I have for you. Have a beautiful day, and don't be an a-hole. I'll catch you in the next one.